Hello, YouTube. What's going on? Derek James here, GovKidMethod. Welcome to our 9th consecutive YouTube live session, September 25th. Today's topic. Today we're going over the topic, pretty important one today. 2020 is over. You saw it in the thumbnail. Maybe you didn't know that. Hopefully you did. If you've been hanging out with us the last few weeks live, you probably do know that, but what that means is essentially, technically Wednesday, September 30th, is the last day of the government's fiscal year. It's kind of weird, right? But New Year's starts October 1st. So if you're in the government contracting space, if you're preparing to be in the government contracting space, or if you've been bidding it out all this past year, no matter kind of where you're sitting, it's really important for you to know at this pivotal time, and nobody's really talking about it. So I don't know why. Maybe people are talking about it and I just don't know. But yeah, we just have a few more days and the year's over. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing what happened in this past year. It's been a unique year, COVID-19. I'm going to share with you some stats that I found that made this year different. I'm going to be asking you guys a few questions to participate as well. But we're also going to be talking about what you need to do, what you can do, and what you should do for the year ahead, 2021, for your GovCon business. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's video. But before that, as usual, a few administrative things to touch on for those of you that have been following my move. This is hopefully my last moving update. I'm moving from Michigan to Alabama. It's been almost a 3-month process that I've been talking about this, and I'll be so happy to be done with it. We've had to sell 2 houses and moving families, because there's my parents and then me and my girlfriend's family. So we're all moving. But tomorrow, guys, tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the day we give the keys away to this house that I'm sitting in, this empty room. We've been living in a totally empty house for the last 2 weeks because of Hurricane Sally. So we put all of our stuff on a truck to go down to Alabama. And then they told us we can't come down because of the hurricanes. So we've been sleeping on floors, blow up mattresses, and have been cooking with one pot. So it's been a nightmare. But tomorrow, hopefully, and it definitely should, it all end. Our closing is next Tuesday on our house down there. So next Tuesday, I will be in Alabama. Please send us your well wishes and your wishes for good travel. We're a little freaked out about, going down there with some of the aftermath going on, because I know some places still don't have power and stuff like that. So your blessings are much, much appreciated. My girlfriend's super nervous, so I'm trying to keep her calm while I keep myself calm. So hopefully next Friday, hopefully I'm able to get internet. You'll see me here live, hopefully in a new house, many states away from where I am now. So that's kind of the plan. So let me see, check in with the chat here. Jessica, forgot to tell you, solicitation. I submitted a bid proposal for a while back, finally emailed me the request for a cost proposal and just submitted today. Bid opening will be on the 30th. That's awesome, Jessica. That's really awesome. And thanks for hopping back over from Facebook. So that's awesome. Boki, boy, and what's going up? What's going on, rather? Did I say going up? What's going on? Thanks for being here, returning. Jessica says, if I get this contract, it will be my first one since starting 3 months ago. That's awesome. Since you were just thrown into it, I know the feeling, and it will gain 18 new facilities across Nebraska to staff nurses. Holy cow, Jessica, that's massive for possibly up to 10 years. Your templates and videos have been tremendous, and you're so excited. Also wanted to hear on my proposal for another 22 facilities. Jessica, it sounds like you're killing it. It sounds like you've been doing exactly what you should be doing at this time of the year. So man, I really hope that one of those comes through for you. That would be really awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. It's kind of a cool way to start us off here. So I'm saying hello to the chat. If you are new here, this is your first YouTube live. Welcome to our GovCon community. Here on YouTube. Let us know you're new by typing first time in the chat. If you are returning, I know we have a number of amazing, intelligent, hardworking folks that have been following over the recent weeks YouTube lives. Let me know that you guys are here. Go ahead and type returning. in the chat, or just say what's up, because I'm probably going to recognize your name by this point. And then for those of you in the future, because this is definitely available on replay for anybody that has to bounce halfway through, or if you're just finding this in a search result maybe 1 or 2 years later. It's crazy how YouTube works. But in the comments, put replay so that we can send you some love out there into the future, helping you with government contracting, going over today's topic. So yeah, go ahead and put replay in the chat for that also. So if you're not familiar with how this works, we're going to get into the topic in just a second. Again, the year is over. That's today's topic. Really the first 45 minutes, 30, 45 minutes are going to be dedicated to going over some of the material I have prepared for today's topic. So if you have any questions regarding today's topic, go ahead and put those in the chat at any time. I'll take a water break and catch my breath, and I'll check the chat throughout the topic to answer those questions. But if you have other GovCon questions, other questions that are related to government contracting but are not about what we're talking about, I ask that you just save those for the end of the session, because we usually do have an extra 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the live session to answer other GovCon related questions and get some good engagement, get some good back and forth going on. Sometimes you all even help each other out, which I love seeing in the chat so much. So it's kind of how we like to structure it. Keeps me on track. I lose my place a lot. And then even for those of you watching on replay, it helps keep a structured video for you so you know what to expect. So it's kind of how this is going to work. So without further ado, I think it's about time that we can get into our topic today. And today, I meant to say it earlier. I'm going to need some participation, particularly. I've never really asked for this, but I'm going to need some extra participation from you guys, because I have 2 questions that I'm going to ask you that I would like your answers in the comments, okay, in the chat here, because it's going to be part of today's topic. So I really kind of do need you to participate if you can. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes to answer that question. And while you're answering it, I'm going to talk about something else. So the question I have for you is, what were one of your wins in government contracting this year? Okay, this is the question. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that, but just answer by putting in the chat. A win could be a number of things. We need to start celebrating the small wins. So a win could be you got registered in SAM. Like maybe you just set up, maybe you just got registered. Maybe you received a certification. You got certified. You added a certification to supplement your business. That's a win, right? Maybe you conducted your first capability briefing with the contracting officer or a small business liaison. That's a win. Or maybe you even submitted your first bid. Jessica's talking about her win already. Maybe you submitted a first bid sometime this year, and maybe you've done many more since then. Let's put that in here so the community can see it. Maybe you even responded to just your first source of sauce, and that's all that you've done. Okay, that's important. We want to celebrate the small things that are going to build up to make massive results, i.e. winning contracts. And if you have won a contract, that's like the best thing ever, right? So if you have won a contract, definitely put that in the chat or in the comments. So that is the question for you guys. If you can answer that for me now, I would love to see what your one win is. And even if it's none of those, even if you've made the decision that for next year you're going to build a GovCon business, that's a win, because sometimes making a decision and committing to it is the hardest thing to do of all. So if you can take the next minute or two to answer that question, I'm going to move on and come back to your answers and talk to you about what I've seen this year, okay? This 2020 is over, right? So I'm going to talk about a little bit of the year in review, and I want to share some stats and some numbers with you to help educate you and give you some perspective. You may already know what I'm going to say, but I thought it would be interesting to put some numbers, some actual numbers to it, to be able to show you that, okay, it's not just in our heads, like it's real. So again, if you're not answering the question, answer it, and then I'll come back to it in just a minute. So for one of the things that I've seen this year, obviously there's been a lot of small business owners coming into the space for providing PPE, personal protective equipment, as it relates to COVID-19, right? A lot of folks came rushing in. Most of the folks were late. Some of the folks are still trying to come in, and I think for most of them, they're super late, right? Unless you have something really unique to offer. But what I pulled was some data regarding NAICS codes. So I pulled one of the PPE NAICS codes, and I was able to see the revenue spent for this year. And this year, it's not technically over. We still have, till Wednesday, another 5 days here, but it's pretty close. So this data is not 100%, but it's pretty close. So for one NAICS code that I pulled, 339112, which is a surgical and medical instrument manufacturing. It's a common kind of medical equipment NAICS code that's used as reflective for PPE and some other things. In 2018, for this NAICS code, $1.6 billion were spent and procured under this NAICS code, okay? 1.6 billion were spent. Now, to contrast that, I pulled this year's numbers. 2020, right? The year of the coronavirus, for this PPE NAICS code. 2.5 billion have been spent this year so far just for this NAICS code. So it's, I did the numbers, it's about 64% increase. We'll say a 60 to 70% increase for the industry average. Because I did look at a couple other NAICS codes that were similar. So we'll say a 60 to 70% increase for this particular in dollars spent in 2020. So you may have guessed this, but it's absolutely true. It is absolutely validated. And I thought it'd be interesting to validate it with those numbers. But by contrast, that's not the only thing I pulled. I thought it would be even more interesting to, verify our hypothesis here, looking at the numbers, by pulling another NAICS code, a NAICS code that's not related to PPE. I pulled a very common professional administrative services NAICS code. Because if we're going to think kind of logically and think, use our heads here and think for ourselves, my hypothesis was, well, maybe the government didn't procure as much like staffing, professional administrative type services. Maybe they didn't because of social distancing and working from home. Maybe they just didn't spend as much money, But the only way to verify that is to have a couple years to compare it against, or at least 1 year to compare it against. So again, I pulled for 2018 for the NAICS code 561110. And there was 52 billion spent for this particular NAICS code, okay? You guys, I like staffing. I always tell you, I like staffing, right? Follow the numbers, follow the money. We're looking at 1.6 with that one particular NAICS code for PPE, 52 billion in 2018. Now, where are we at this year? Okay, for the same NAICS code. It's not as massive or drastic as a result, but they went from 52 down to 45. And the year's not over, but they went down to 45, which percentage-wise is significant because you're looking at, around 11 to 12% decline just from, kind of the shock effects, as my hypothesis goes, from COVID-19. And I'm sure other NAICS codes could have been hurt even worse, right? Because this is just the professional administrative NAICS code, just like the PPE NAICS code. So it was really interesting to see that PPE definitely went up and professional services, it did go down. And I don't know what else would be causing it. I know the economy, everything's been affected. It's not just been social distancing, but it's affected everything. But if that were the case and it was just economic, then we would see everything go down, right? But we saw one thing go up and we saw one thing go down. So I thought that was really interesting to be able to show the data with you guys. And if you ever want to check this for yourself, and I'm gonna come back to the chat here in just a second, but if you ever want to check numbers like this for yourself, all you have to do is go to USA Spending, go to Advanced Search, and then it'll have a layout similar to beta.sam.gov. On the left, you will see a NAICS code thing. Put in the NAICS code, click search, and then go over to the time filter, which will show you over like the last 10 years spending for that particular NAICS code. Actually show you how to do this in what should you sell to the government. My course at GovKidMethod.com actually show you through screen recording how to do that, but it's the same example that I just ran here. If you ever want to run numbers, do research for yourself, see what the spending is. It's really important to know. So I thought that was really interesting and really important. So hope you enjoyed that stat. I'll come to the chat now, and then we'll get back to today's topic. And again, the question was, what were any of the small or big wins that you guys had this year? So if you're just joining us, what did you get registered? Did you do your first capability briefing? Did you win a contract? That's massive. But did you respond to your first bid, your first source of SOT response? I want to celebrate all of these many things, or did you just make the decision to get into government contracting? That is also a win. And I want to know in the chat, I'm going to have one more question for you guys in a little bit. This was the first of two. So let's see what we have here. Fantin says, first of all, thank you for giving us tips. Can you please advise, we are a company, small business. Okay, yep, I'll get to that in a bit. Jessica said, I did submit my first source of SOT on the 14th. Awesome, Jessica, you're absolutely killing it. And even more, thank you so much for sharing it with us here so that we can celebrate you. Your first source of SOT on the 14th. I love it. Jordan says, got my LLC and got registered in SAM. Love it. What's up, Jordan? Thanks for being here. Celebrate that. That's awesome. I love getting that SAM thing like off of my chest, because then it's like, okay, now I can focus on the stuff that really matters. And getting registered definitely matters. It's essential, but it's not very fun. I want to do the fun stuff. Antoine says, my win is I'm committed to creating a GovCon business. Love it. Antoine has made the decision. He has committed to doing this going forward. And 2021 is going to be a year where he makes a lot of great strides and progress. So I love it. Freddie Pay-Per-View says, no wins yet, just educating myself these past few weeks. My LLC officially formed as of yesterday. Next step is to register in SAM, create website, open the business bank account, etc. Freddie, you do have some wins. Just like Anton, you've decided, you made the decision, and now you're already starting to take action. You've even set up your LLC, and you already know the next steps that you're going to do. So those are wins, and they do count for 2020, Freddie. So thanks for being here, Freddie. Also, thanks for being here. I've been seeing you in the comments on some videos. So nice to see you live. Vince says, howdy fam, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Boki says, my wins are learning from my mistakes, submitting bids, and getting better at reading contracts. Yeah, Boki is, he is in the trenches. He is doing the hard work. He's doing the things that you have to do over and over to get better at them. So he is right on track, and I expect some really good things next year for him. Chris says, got a cage code. Awesome. If you got a cage code, that means that you have registered in SAM, because that's the only way to get a cage code. So love it. Love it. Let's see here. Michael Johnson says, submitted 5 sources SOT, ready to move forward in 2021. Awesome. Love it. Responding to sources SOT is awesome. Responding to those 5, hopefully they're targeted in some sense, maybe targeted agencies or targeted on certain type of work that you're going after. I always love targeting for agencies though, because the same people in contracting get to see you over and over again. So that's huge. Awesome, Michael. Tracy says, working on getting registered in SAMs and reviewing the course. Awesome. What's going on, Tracy? Hi, how are you? Love it. Like I said, getting that SAM off your back so that you can move on to focus on marketing and bidding for your business is huge. So you're already taking steps towards that. That is awesome. So thank you guys. Thank you for celebrating your small wins. You guys are doing it. It's these small things, even though for some, they may even seem so small and insignificant, but it's these little things that build, and that after like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you look back at yourself and you've come so far. If you were to compare yourself to where you were at the beginning of the year, we are at the beginning of the year, almost beginning of 2021 for the fiscal year, right? Where are you going to be at the end of 2021? If you keep stacking up all these small little things here, and I'm here to be here for you. I'm not going anywhere. So we're going to do this together. So get back to the topic here, guys. Thanks for the chat. Like I said, I do have one more question coming up in the future. That was one of two. I have one more coming up. So don't go too far from your keyboards. I'm going to get back to the topic now. And then let me see, where's my questions? Yeah, so I have a question coming up, not too long from now, maybe the next 5 minutes. So I want to talk about, particularly as it related to what happened this year. This year really has been like a lesson in pivoting, okay? We are not large businesses. All of us here, we're not massive businesses with hundreds or thousands of employees. Most of us, it's just one of us, or us and our spouse, or us and a colleague, us and a partner. Maybe you have a few, members, like team members, but for the most of us, 95% of us, that's it. We are not big. And there's advantages and disadvantages to that, okay? We're not really getting into that today. But one of the advantages is you can pivot. It's your speed, right? You can be agile, you can be quick. So when 2020 hit, there were businesses that pivoted their needs, right? Maybe they were providing a certain good or service, but then bam, this happened. So are you just gonna keep doing what you've been doing and pretend like it's not happening? Or hide under a rock or something, or are you going to look into your customer, because the government is your customer, and you're going to look and see what's happened to them. What are their new needs? PPE, of course, sanitization, things like that, of course. But what else? I know a lot of IT technology stuff has been huge this year for telecommuting and teleworking. The Zoom stock price has just gone off the charts insane, right? Because now everybody's using it because they have to. It's a need. It's a need for all of us. What needs arose out of this year because of what happened? I don't know what's going to happen next year in 2021, right? You don't know. None of us know. We're not even out of the woods yet with this thing. So being able to pivot and be agile is something you can do as a small business. And I talk about this a number of times. Don't pigeonhole your GovCon business. Remember, you're a contractor. You're a link in the chain. Your job is to make stuff happen, okay? That is what it means to be a government contractor. Your job is to make stuff happen. That is why I got my first contract, my road salt contract, okay? The government needed it. We were in IT staffing. My boss, she was so focused on other things, but I was new and I wanted to prove myself. And I didn't know hardly anything, but I knew this starting out. I knew that we were like a link in the chain and that we could make stuff happen. And not even from a shady standpoint, because it's not like shady. I hate even saying that word, because it's not. When you're a small business, if you can make something happen, you don't say no to it. So when I overheard that conversation from the contracting officer and my boss on the phone, and my boss shaking her head saying, no, I don't know how to get the road salt, I knew that I could do it. So I spent the next 2 weeks figuring it out, because that was a unique need that happened. Up here in Michigan, it was an especially cold winter, surrounded by the Great Lakes. They all froze, or at least the main travel routes froze. And we have salt mines underneath the Great Lakes. And so they bring that up and then they truck that back in. But then it's got to go over the lake too. There's the barges and everything. And with all that frozen, our supply line was cut off. So because of an outside source, now the government was cut off from something that would have been no different any other year. They already bought all the salt that they needed. But bam, this came in and I saw it as an opportunity, okay? So I started calling everybody. I started calling I started out doing like landscaping companies and stuff like that, because I'm like, okay, well, they have the salt and the trucks and everything, and they can do it. So what I quickly found out though was they had the salt, but they had no way to get the trucks because all the trucks were already being dispatched. And so they just couldn't get it to us. So then I started calling trucking companies. I'm like, okay, well, let's solve that problem. And all the trucking companies, they were like all occupied also. I called out as far as Utah just to see what like travel costs and then what the freight costs would be once they pick up the salt. And it was just gonna be way too much. But it was like my mind got that far stretched to solve this problem. And after 2 weeks of looking, I ended up finding a landscaping company in Ohio, because I was just calling everybody. And he said, we've got the salt, we've got the trucks, but you have to give me a commitment right now. So I told him, hey, this is what we need from the government. It's got to have this yellow dye anti-caking agent in it. It's got to be delivered at this, Air National Guard base, and by this date, no sooner, no late. And they said we can do it. So I told my boss. She said, you found it. You can do the salt, right? I said, here's the paperwork. Here's the email. Here's the quote. Here's the price. Here's all of it. And she said, okay, let's do it. So she called the contracting officer back, said, do you still need somebody to be able to do this? And they said, yeah, we haven't found anybody. We're in desperate need of salt. This is the Air National Guard base. And so, the planes need to be able to land, and they can't because the runway is not safe. Like, they were in dire situations because of this outside thing that happened. So that's how I won my first contract. We delivered on it. Everything went fine. We invoiced. It was all good. If we were not able to be agile, if we were not going to be able to be, my computer freezes here. If we were not going to be able to respond to that, and for my boss, she just didn't want to be bothered with it because it was a $90,000 contract, and to her that was small. It ended up being a $90,000 contract. She thought it would be smaller, but it wasn't. But to me, it was my first contract, and it was my way of proving myself. And it was the lesson that allowed me to go on to win 31 more contracts, totaling more than $15 million with 8 or 9 different government agencies. Because I always remembered that lesson, and that's why I put it in my book. I don't talk about it a whole lot, but I'm talking about it right now. If you can learn this lesson that it is your job to make stuff happen. This may not be how the commercial world works, okay? But it's how the government works, because they need stuff done, okay? Not all the agencies are military, but it's almost a military type approach. Like, every agency has a mission that has to be delivered on, right? They get money, they get funding from Congress, they have budgets, they need it done. And then when an emergency thing happens, like what happened this year, or on a small scale, what happened with my salt contract, stuff has to get done. Again, it's a new mission. So as a small business, you can react. Larger businesses, they don't even care about it. But for us small business owners, it can really be our foot in the door. I went on to win more business with that agency, but other agencies, and I use that past performance. So I really hope sharing that bit of story basically highlights the lesson that I want to share with you for the year ahead. We're kind of talking about the years right now. So for the year ahead, we don't know what's going to happen, but be ready to pivot if you see an opportunity to do so. It might not be a big pivot. It might just be something small that most people don't even know about, but in your industry, there might be something going on that you can be agile and say, hey, we can do this. Or I didn't know how to do it. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I just figured it out. Make some phone calls, be resourceful. This is really where you get down to the nitty gritty of being an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur doesn't, ask permission, they ask forgiveness. Just do it. Let's go figure it out, right? This stuff is not rocket science. You can do it. You guys are all very smart and intelligent. And more importantly than that, our group is scrappy. Our group is resourceful. And those are traits and characteristics that I value even more in business than being the most intelligent person or whatever. Well, what does that mean for business? For business, you have to be able to react. So I have another question coming up for you now. Hopefully you like that story. I don't tell it a lot, like I said, but I do enjoy it. If you're liking this video also, feel free to hit that like button. We always like to get to 20 or 30 likes during the live session. Right now we're at 7. So if you haven't liked this video and you do like it, feel free to give it a like. I'll check the chat really quickly here, and then I'll ask you the question. I have one more question for you, and then I have a little bit more content, and then we'll that'll end the topic, and then we'll answer some more questions. So that's how we will do this thing. So just checking the chat. And again, any questions that were not related to the topic, I will do my best to get back to those at the end of the session, trying to address anything that's within our topic right now or the question. TLers said, completely set up for business, SAM done, NAICS code 56110, and product and service code also. Awesome, so that's another win, a new win for TLers. So also applied for the Women of Small Business Cert this week. Absolutely love it. Congrats on those small wins, celebrating those. Okay. Yep, so I do see your comments and questions. I'll get to more of those at the end of the session, just see if there's anything else about the topic we're in. So love it, guys. Absolutely love it. So now my question for you is, what is your plan? Because I kind of want to know, and just can just be a couple words, you know, it doesn't have to be super lengthy. I know it's not easy in the chat sometimes to type, especially if you're on your phone. But my question is, what is your plan for the year ahead? I genuinely want to know, what are your thoughts? You know, it can be one-word things like bidding, marketing, getting registered. Like, what are the things that you're planning to do next year? Like, what are your goals? Like, you have to have some sort of idea. And it may seem early, but it's my job as a coach to get you thinking ahead of time. And it's really not even that far ahead. But the government's going to be really slow the next couple months. The first quarter is always really slow, October, November, December. So it's my job to get you thinking during this slow time. Some of the things that you can do to maximize your time and your efficiency for your GovCon business as we go through the different, you know, fiscal seasons of dollars and contracts as it progresses throughout the year. We're about to enter a really slow period for most. So I want to know, what is your plan? What is it that you're going to do? I want your wheels to be churning, and I want you to let me know in the chat, either live right now, or even if you're watching in the future on replay, what is your plan for the future? Because I'm going to tell you some of my thoughts, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Because you know, honestly, business is based on revenue, correct? If it's not, then it's just a hobby, right? That's how we define the difference between a business and a hobby. Is even hobbies can produce revenue, but all of your activities in your business should be working backwards from revenue in a business, right? So if you tell me what your plans are for next year and they are not aligned with revenue producing activities in some way, you know, it doesn't have to be bidding all the time. But if I can't follow the trail backwards to revenue, then you have to question whether you should be doing that activity, right? Because there's only so many hours in a day. Isn't that some Beyonce quote or something like that? Beyonce has the same number of hours in a day as, I don't know. I think I heard somebody saying it. You have the same number of hours in a day as Beyonce. I think that's how it goes. But yeah, that's so true, right? With whoever your idol is or whatever. You have to make the best use of your time, especially if you're a business owner. Beyonce is a business owner. Yeah. So answer that question. What is your plan for the year ahead? It can be one word, a couple words, whatever. It can be 5 sentences. Love it, whatever. So now let me give you some of my thoughts, and then I'll come back again and read your answers in the chat. And that'll be it for the topic, okay? So, and then I'll get back to some of the questions and comments that I missed earlier. So my thoughts for this year ahead, 2021, as I said, there's still a lot of unknowns. we're not out of the woods yet. So one of my bullets is you need to still be ready to pivot in case something happens this winter or something happens this spring or next summer or whatever. I don't know what that thing would be that would happen. I don't know, but be ready to pivot as a small business owner. You should always have that feather in your cap to always be on watch for opportunities and threats. You know, these SWOT analysis, SWOT, SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats for your business. Well, we're in the land of opportunities and threats right now. So moving forward, you need to keep those binoculars on. Also, though, I'm going to get into some more very specific things now that you can consider doing, some gold nuggets that I'm going to give you. One thing is, it's going to be slow, okay? October, November, December, it's the slowest quarter of the year for most agencies, for most contractors. So during the slow time, there are some things that you can do to better position your business for when things get busier, right? So one of the things is forecasts. Some of the forecasts already have been released. I've seen them, but over the next month or two, agencies are going to be releasing their procurement acquisition forecasts. Basically an Excel list saying, hey, these are the jobs we're going to post over the next year. We're going to bid and we're definitely going to buy these things. Maybe not definitely, but we plan to buy these things, right? So if you're targeting an agency and this is your agency that you're targeting, you really should have that list, right? So you can go to the agency's website. You can reach out to the OSDBU, the small business office for that agency to also get that procurement forecast. But you can also go to a website called acquisition.gov. If you go to acquisition.gov, this is one of the things that, it makes sense for you to do while things are a little bit slow to prepare. You can go to acquisition.gov, scroll to the bottom on the right-hand side, you will see procurement forecasts. If you click on that, it's like a big box like this. If you click on that, it will bring up like all the agencies. It's kind of like a database. And then you can click on an agency and it'll take you, and then it'll take you to like their page. It may be there, it might not be there yet. It may be the old forecast, but that's kind of like a composite way to get a bunch of forecasts in a little bit of time. So this is one thing that you can do. My thoughts for the year ahead, my thoughts that you should do to prepare for every year ahead. Start stashing the forecasts so that you know what's going on, especially if you have agencies that you're targeting. So that's one thing. Another thing that you can do, let me see here. Yeah, if you don't have marketing materials, i.e. a capability statement. If you don't have one, maybe you're brand new. Well, the slow time is a good time to create one, right? And then as things get busier, you can start sending that out. So create a capability statement. If you need one, I do have a paid version. You get 8 different templates on my website, GovKidMethod.com. Or if you want to just, kind of make your own and even use mine as an example, feel free. Okay, I actually show you what it looks like on both sides if you want to do that. Or you can purchase it outright if you want. But whatever you want to do, it's a good time to get your marketing materials. And for government contracting, capability statement is kind of like your one-pager, your one-page elevator pitch, your business card, but you should have business cards too. But I think you get what I mean. And if you already have one, and if your business has changed or expanded or pivoted already from this year, it's a time that you can go and critique and update your cap statement for the year ahead. So this isn't just applying to just folks that are new. If you've already been in it and you already have a cap statement, it's a year to basically sharpen your capability statement, sharpen your saw, if you will, is what they say. I think Stephen Covey coined the phrase, sharpen your saw, during the slow time. So that when things are busy, you're not spending time on these type of things. You can go out and do what matters. So also, if you've been targeting agencies, this is another thing. Reflect on if these agencies have been a match for your GovCon business. Are they really putting out the bids and the source of sought notices that you want to respond to, right? You should have been watching them, right? If they haven't, it's time to rethink and switch out your slide deck, because you should have 3 to 5 agencies that you're focusing on. The ones that aren't a good fit or they didn't go the way you thought, put those out, bring some new ones in, start doing some more research. I gave you some examples on how to do the NAICS code research. You can do a similar example to find agency research also in USA spending. But hey, if you just go to beta.sam.gov and you start looking at bids, you'll see the agency that the bid is coming out from. And you'll start to see certain agencies have a certain type of bid, right? And that's kind of how you back into it. So if you don't know what agencies you want to target, now is a great time over the next couple months. And if you already have some, it's a time to maybe switch out or give praise and say, you know what, I am in the right place. This agency is going to be my agency for the next year. And I know it's going to be great, and I'm going to win a contract, or I'm going to build some relationships or whatever, right? So that's another thing that you can do. If you're in some sort of seasonal type work though, you may not see bidding slow down as much. You know, for example, if you're into like snow plowing and stuff like that, seasonal or other seasonal type things throughout the year, you may have like a mini season within the regular government contracting season. So you need to know what your industry is and be abreast of that and follow the rules that industry goes by. So if you're into grounds maintenance and landscaping and mowing, but you can also do pushing and plowing and salt and things like that, then things may get a little bit busier because they probably are already procuring those forecasts ahead of the winter season, but there will be more. Some of them do wait to kind of last minute. So there will be more of those if that's your industry, and things will get a little bit busier. It's just not the majority of the industry, but it's why you need to know your industry, because there may be like a mini season within the season. So it's winter for most of us, but it's summer for you. You know, that can happen. So, but for most of us, the point of this is things are going to, slow down, but either way, you need to know your industry. And if you don't know it, now is a really good time to start getting acquainted with it. And if you're trying to get set-asides, right? We talked about this last week. Set-asides will not save you. Set-asides are not bad. Set-asides are good, okay? But they're a good supplement to your business. They're not good when you put all of your weight and everything on them, expecting once you get a set-aside, the contractor is going to walk in the door. That's when it becomes bad, right? But if you want to grow, diversify, and supplement your business with a set-aside, add a strategy, add a competitive advantage to your business, let me ask you, do you think it would be better to go through that process when you should be really busy bidding? Or is it better to go through that process when things are kind of slow and there's not that much work to be won? I would say do it during the slow season too. So again, things that need to be done, I'm not saying don't do them. I'm saying do them intelligently within the seasons of the government contracting business. So set-asides is something that you could think about doing right now. And lastly, we talked about this on the Facebook Live pre-hangout at noon today. Somebody had a comment in the Facebook group about doing a website. If you don't have a website for your government contracting business, I always say don't let that stop you from getting into the game, registering in SAM and all of that. But I do say within a year, you probably should get a website for your business. And now is a good time while things are slow. This is another thing that you can do to prepare for when things get a bit busier. You can get a website, and really we live in the digital age where you can go to Wix, or you can get free websites now, and they'll host your domain for you and everything. And essentially, if you're doing a new website just for government contracting, that's cool. But if you already have a website and you already have commercial customers or something, and you just want to add the government as a customer, then you can just add a tab to your current website called your government capabilities. Essentially, it's your capabilities for your GovCon business. And within that tab, you'll have the same information that you would have as if somebody had a brand new website just committed to this. So all you need to put into this website is just essentially what's in your capabilities statement. So reflect what you have in there, the bare bones, DUNS code, DUNS number, cage code, If you're done numbering your cage code, any set-asides that you have, make sure that's on your website. Include at least a short list of NAICS codes and what they stand for also on your website. Any projects, personal, commercial, or within the government that you have completed successfully, add those to your website. If you're on a GSA schedule or something like that, any other government mechanisms, it's a bit more advanced, don't worry about it. But if anything you have additional that would sell you to the government, also add that to your website. That's kind of the bare bones. It really shouldn't take more than a couple of days to get something like that popped up. It gives your business credibility and integrity. And within a year of being in government contracting, I would say it's probably about time to get something popped up for your business. It just shows, that you're serious. So that's another thing that you can do during the slow times. So that is all that I'm going to say about this topic. There's a lot more that I could talk about. The year in review and the year ahead. I've asked a few questions. I'm going to get to your answers for the second question in just a second. But guys, I want really good things for you in this year ahead. And we're going to go to some open Q&A here in just a second too. I do have a few minutes. But before I move on to that, I want good things for you. I want you all to win as many contracts as you want. I want your business to grow as much as you want. But if you get distracted doing the wrong things, a whole year is going to go by and you're going to lose time. You may lose money. And you may have some hard lessons learned. I'm again, as your coach, I'm trying to steer you in the right place. And I can only put so much in one video, right? I have a lot of videos now on the YouTube channel, so check them out. I talk about some really good things that you need to know. But one of the biggest thing is don't buy into the distractions. Not just because of the tangible, the way that it looks and feels like, okay, that's a tangible distraction, but because what it does to your mind. And if you get sidetracked, what's going to happen is you're going to get kind of like debilitated over time. You're going to kind of get down on yourself. Your demons are going to come up and you're going to think you're not good enough or that you can't do this. You're going to question whether you're doing the right things. You're going to go down the bad path if you go into the distractions. Don't do that. Stick with the things that work. That is the big shiny light. Don't go away from the big shiny light. Stick with the things that work and you will have success, okay? It doesn't take forever, but you have to do the work and you have to do the right things. You have to do them consistently. And I talk about those all the time on the channel. If you watched any of the videos, there should be no secret as to what it is you need to do. But if you still don't know, we're going to talk about it more in the future. So it's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. But it is my plea for you to not go off of this video today, whether you're watching live or in the future, and then in a day or two, hear about something that almost sounds like shiny object syndrome or something that sounds like, oh, let's do that. Like that is not part of the core fundamentals of what you should be doing. Don't do that this year, please. I want to see you all succeed. And I've spoken with more people than I care to name that are doing that, and they're still doing that. Even after the strategy session that they have with me, a week later, I find out that they're doing something totally different than what we talked about. Okay, it's a big frustration for me, and I can tell you what to do, I can help you, I can educate you, I can inform you, I can inspire you, maybe even, but I can't control what you do. Only you can control it. So please don't do that this year. Instead, please stick to the fundamentals. Do what works. Don't get ripped off. Is really what I'm saying. Don't go and get ripped off. Don't go learn some really hard lessons that you don't need to, because I'm telling you what you kind of need to avoid. So yeah, that's kind of my heart one-to-one for you for the year ahead. So I'm going to go to the chat now. Again, if you've liked this video, feel free to hit that like button. We'd like to get to 20 to 30 likes on this video. And if you haven't subscribed or if you're new here, hey, we do this every week. This is our 9th consecutive video. consider subscribing, because there's not a lot of great GovCon communities, and we would love to have you as part of our community, as we can see here in the chat. You guys are awesome. So let me get caught up on the chat. So now we're just going to hang out, okay? So topic is over. We're going to hang out. I'm going to try and not miss anybody here. And I probably will bounce in about 15 minutes. So I'll get as much done as I can. Just got to find my place of where I left off. And if I missed you, just, let me know once I start talking. Ram B says, do you have a Reddit page as well? I post in Reddit a little bit, Ram, but I don't do a whole lot. Basically, all I do is I respond to people that are asking for help, and I let them know some of the great resources that we have. So that's all that I'm doing on Reddit. Smart Cookie says, should we reveal to vendors that we are doing business with the government? Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question. Smart Cookie. Yeah, there's no hiding that. Okay. Once you get comfortable realizing, like, you're just bidding on this, like, it is not your work, you won't be afraid to approach like subcontractors or other vendors to get a quote. I'm assuming that's kind of what's going on. It's just part of how it goes. On the flip side, if you go to them and you act like you have this job and you can definitely give them this work, it may not be the best way to build relationships, because usually some of them are smarter than you think, and they may even know that this bid is on the street. Not all of them, but I do give them a little bit more credit than that. And so yes, you should reveal it. You should let them know that you're competitively bidding on a contract and that you want to develop a relationship and get pricing from this vendor, or get a technical write-up or whatever it is that you're trying to do with them. Even if you're trying to partner with them, you should absolutely let them know. So yeah, there's no shame, there's no hiding. That is par for the course in the industry. That's totally normal. So I hope that helps to answer your question. Vince Chris said, good story. Thanks, Vince. Yeah, the road salt story, I don't tell it a lot, but yeah, I guess I realize when I say it out loud, it's kind of a cool story, right? I do share it in my book though, so. Jessica said, it's always good to practice to include the most relevant references. Absolutely. Showing that you already work with the government can help you appear almost not as risky to them as well. 100%. Jessica, that's absolutely the case. Use the most relevant type of past performances that you have, and not everybody has them. But when you do have them, or when you are using them, you want to be relevant, which means two things with relevancy in terms of the government. It means with ROM, so rough order of magnitude. So if you're bidding on a job for $1 million, you're not going to use a project for $50,000 as similar past performance, right? You want to do something that's over, probably at least a few 100,000, 500,000, because at least the dollar value is at least somewhat comparable, right? To be able to perform a job of this size. And then the second thing in terms of relevancy is the statement of work, the scope. What work were you really doing? It should go without saying, but some people, maybe they want to get past performance on Unison Marketplace by providing random equipment, and then they want to use that as past performance to go bid on staffing contracts. Okay, it's not relevant. The government's going to say, okay, that's great, but I don't know how that shows to us that you're any less risky. Maybe it'll like 5% less risky, but that's about it. So totally agree, Jessica. Jordan says, since the fiscal year is basically over, what's the best thing to focus on for the next coming months? So Jordan, good question. And I did just answer those. There's 6 or 7 things, bullet points that I just went through. And you probably asked that question before I even went through those. So you probably already got that answer. But for anybody watching on the replay too, that those are the things that I recommend doing during the slow time. Basically prepare, you want to prepare. And then for those of you who have a unique industry, know your industry to know if things are going to get a little bit busier in the winter or in the first quarter It can happen, but for the most of us, it does not. Sarush says, I'm just starting my own and watching your videos to learn more. Awesome. Welcome, Sarush. Karmani, thank you for being here. Welcome to the community. Thanks for checking us out as a new member to our community. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you on the future lives. SOBC says, that was an inspiring story. Thank you so much. It is my personal story. I try to keep things as personal as I can here to show you stuff that is relatable that you can also do. This isn't stories from other people. These are my stories. Sarush also says, I've been working for government for 10 years in acquisition. Cool, and you're starting your own business. Got it. What do you recommend in terms of working with previous contracting officers you worked with? So if you have those relationships, if you're going to, conflict of interest is obviously the elephant in the room with this question. So if you're going to be retiring, you want to check to make sure that you don't have any sort of cooling off process. You want to check with your office. I don't know if it's the Inspector General or the legal office rather, just to see if there's any conflict of interest. If you don't have any conflict of interest, Sarush, and you're going to do this, I haven't really gotten this question, but that's like the only problem. If everything's fine, then I say leverage the relationships you have as much as you can. And my guess is you probably already have had some conversations with those contracting officers, and why not? So make sure there's no conflict of interest, no OCI, organizational conflict. And if everything is good, I don't know what would be wrong with leveraging those relationships, market your business as you would as if you were anybody else. Keep it professional, but in this case, you actually have some specific targets that you know who to market to, a person, an agency, and then also ask them, and you probably already know the answer to this question if you've worked with them, but any referrals, any people they can introduce you to, any warm leads, so that you're not just stuck with this one person or these few people, but you can grow that out. And that's what I recommend for all of you as you start to build relationships. We didn't talk about relationships at all today, but I always say the goal for one meeting is to get another meeting. So if you have one meeting and then you never, go back to that person again, that was a wasted meeting. So meetings are always about the follow-up and always about the referral. So that applies to you, but also all of us here that's watching. Let me see here. Ebony says bidding and winning and hiring employees. So Ebony is the first answer that I see to my question. What is your plan for 2021, right? So Ebony's plan for 2021 is bidding and winning and hiring employees. Love it. It sounds like a plan to me. And I would even add to that marketing your business as well, if that's something that you can do. EW says first quarter networking with OSDBUs and contracting officers. Love it. I love that. We didn't talk a whole lot about that today, EW, but your mind is exactly where mine is. While things are slow, it's a great way to establish that first relationship, to get your foot in the door with an agency, and reaching out to OSDBUs, again, those small business liaisons that every agency has. It's a great way to get your foot in the door, and also network with contracting officers. Love it. Jordan says, Jordan's plan is develop relationships with vendors for vendors and networking. Perfect. And also bidding. That's the plan. Love it, Jordan. Smart Cookie says learning how to bid and win all that I go after. You're not going to win all that you go after, but I love the approach, because I, to some extent, very much believe in the numbers game. And so you're not always going to have you're probably never going to have a ratio of 1-for-1 unless you bid on like one contract and you happen to win it. So a numbers game is something that you have to consider. So try to win all that you can go after. And more importantly, or equally importantly, win from those contracts that you don't win, because that's going to allow you to be better in the future. Win at least one contract, even if it's small, from Valentina Kosova. I love it. I love that one a lot. If the goal is to even just win one contract, right? And then you can break that down into these small steps and focus on those small things that will result in you winning a contract, right? That's where the focus should be. If you put all the effort, say you're trying to lose weight, right? So you want to lose 20 pounds. If every day you get on the scale or once a week or whatever, you get on the scale and you want to weigh 20 pounds less and you say, man, I still don't weigh 20 pounds less every day, you're not going to make it. You're going to be so debilitated, after the first week and so down on yourself. But instead, if over the course of a week, you see that you lost 1 pound or 1.5 pounds, you're like, man, I made a little bit of progress. Imagine if I can do this next week. Imagine if I can do this for a month. Man, I'll probably lose 4 or 5 pounds this month maybe. And then maybe in 3 or 4 months, I'll lose the 20 pounds. That's inspiring. That's motivating. That is a high level of energy versus I still haven't won a contract. I bid and I lost. I still haven't won a contract. No, focus on those many things. Okay, I got another bid out. I got feedback. I got another bid out. I learned something about my pricing. I got another bid out. I changed my proposal layout a little bit. I got another bid out. I found a new agency that seems to be an even better fit for me than this previous agency. I got another bid out. I won. Okay, that's really a lot more realistic, and that's what it means to weigh yourself on the scale. Okay, I didn't lose any weight today. I didn't lose any weight today. Oh, I lost 0.5 pound today. Okay, the next day, oh, I only lost a 1/4 pound, so I gained 1/4 pound back yet. The next day, I'm down 1 pound. It's you guys know, it's not a straight line. It's crazy. We're trying to lose weight, but we're trying to do anything. It's kind of like that. So you have to put your focus on those small wins, and it's a very real thing. Okay, it's a very, very real thing. So Vince says, doing better with market research and better networking are my main goals. All I find are RFQs, so there's not much work to submit quotes. Got it. So yeah, Vince, I think if you keep at it, you are going to dial in. Just keep looking though. Look every day. Look on beta.sam.gov. Have 5 or 10 searches set up, little micro searches that are just looking at a keyword, or just looking at an X code, or just looking at an agency, instead of putting them all into one search, okay? So you can really start to really get a pulse on these different ways of looking at things. You are going to dial it in, and you are going to get to a point to where you know what you want to bid on. So love it. Jessica says, submitting enough proposals and communicating with the contracting officers that they start remembering my name and the company. Love it. That's something that we talk about. Gaining a good reputation with them, even if I don't win. Jessica, absolutely love that. Thank you for saying that. Even if you don't win the big prize, you still win a small prize if you put a focus on that. And that's exactly what she's doing. I love your mindset. That is exactly what we preach here on the channel. Faith says, making my network with vendors. Definitely. Yeah, if you want to establish some relationships, to get pricing with vendors, so that when you start bidding on contracts, you have a go-to, 2, 3, 4, 5 vendors that you can, kind of reliably rely on. Then you can kind of set up your machine to start pushing out bids, because now you have numbers, and then you know what your markup is and all that type of stuff. You can absolutely start off with doing that. Rose says, to create a sustainable business that can become a mentorship for startups. Interesting, Rose. There's let me see here. There's even opportunities within the SBA and other agencies where they have mentor protege programs. So if you're looking to basically grow your business so that you can help other businesses in the space, these mentor protege type programs could actually be a pretty good fit for you, because they even allow you to kind of leverage and work with that business, that smaller business, to go after contracts by way of even leveraging their set aside. And so I do see this a lot with, there's the 8A mentor protege program. So a company that used to have it, that doesn't have it anymore, can get paired with a company that has it, and then they can go after, contracts together. So that's really cool. Jessica says, I call it a bonus to be a small woman-owned business. Absolutely. You want to leverage anything that you can. You just don't want it to be the thing you put all your eggs in one basket, which is totally different. You just leverage everything that you can. You take personal inventory of you, personal inventory of your business, personal inventory of your skill set, personal inventory of your network, and then you leverage all that towards one very focused goal, which is creating revenue for this business, for this GovCon business, right? You leverage all of that. You guys can have more than you think you have. If you just get a pencil and a piece of paper and start making a list of the things, this is actually my checklist for moving. Make a list of the things that you truly do have. It will empower you, and I guarantee you'll realize you have more at your disposal than you realize, because we all know people. You know, many of us are on LinkedIn or on Facebook. We all know somebody who owns a business. You know, there's so many things. So yeah, I love it. Vince says submitted a Facebook group join request today. Vince, then awesome. I will welcome you into the group probably sometime after this live. Love it. Great to have you in the Facebook group. Yeah, guys, we have almost over 2,500 people in the Facebook group now. It's pretty insane. Might be making some changes to the Facebook group. Might be doing a new one in the future. Actually, I probably will be doing a new one in the future. So many big changes are going to come from me personally, because I've learned so much this year. You're going to see some big changes happening within 3 months or so after this move, and after I can get around to making them. But they're going to be good changes, but they're going to be big ones. So Louis Ellie says, I want to learn how to bid and get contracts, and do I have a business to get into government contracting? I don't know if it's Louis or Louis, but either way, thanks for the question. I do have a course at GovKidMethod.com that says, what should you sell to the government? And it's totally free if you want to check that course out. It kind of helps you to answer the question, does your business have something that the government, you know, is trying to buy, whether it's a good or a service? It's really going to take you through like 8 or 9 examples, 7 or 8 examples. I don't remember exactly, but it will absolutely answer your questions. So hopefully you haven't taken that course yet, because then you still have the question. So I encourage you to check out the course. I think you'll like it. Mr. Cag says, hello, can you please tell me how to win government contracts in transportation? I'm new to this and I'm registered in SAM already. What do I do next? Mr. Cag C, thank you for that. That is the #1 question that I receive. I'm registered, now what? You know, I jumped through the hoops. I have a cage and a DUNS number. Now what do I do? Okay. I touched on this a little bit, but this is the question, this is the problem that I'm going to spend this whole next year solving. And some of you may have heard me talk about it in the last couple of weeks, but I'm creating a program that is going to basically, if you're not registered and set up yet and you don't know what you want to sell, you're not going to be able to get into the program, because it's going to be exclusively for people that are like ready to go. And that way you can interact with other folks that are also ready to go. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to be still helping those of you who are trying to get to that level. But Mr. Cag, the program, it's going to be focused on the things you need to do to market your business and to bid on contracts. And I am going to help you with the bidding process way more than what I put in my free course on how to outline a bid and read a bid. It's basically going to be a course within itself on just bidding, but then there's going to be like 4 or 5 other things within this program. So it's going to be pretty big, and I'm going to be making that accessible only for those who are actually at the space where they're ready to start doing the things that they need to grow your business. But in a nutshell, the way you win transportation contracts is the way that you win all contracts. You identify 3 to 5 agencies that are buying what you sell, and most people don't even get to that point because they're just random. So if you're doing transportation, you should be finding the agencies in beta.sam that are buying contracts under transportation NAICS codes. Once you know that, then you need to start marketing to those agencies, set up capability briefings with the OSDBOOS small business offices with those agencies, You'd be marketing to contracting officers, responding to sources soughts, notices, and then ultimately bidding on contracts. So that is the formula. Again, like that's the formula that we're going to be going through in the program, but in a lot of detail and a lot more hand-holding, and we're going to do it together. So that program will be coming out with the beginning of 2021. But you know, if you want to do it on your own without being in the program, that's cool too. But those are the things that you need to do to win transportation contracts. Those are the things you need to do to win any type of contract. And I talk more specifically about those things even in the YouTube channel. So Mr. CAG, if you want to go to GovKidMethod YouTube channel here, I have videos about marketing. I have videos about bidding. I have videos about profit. So I kind of just gave you the framework if you want to dig in more. And that's a good question. I get that question all the time, which is why I'm expanding on it a little bit. I realize it's basically the single biggest problem that everybody's facing is I'm registered, now what? Or I'm stuck, what do I do next? And I'm gonna blow the face off of that problem this year. That's not gonna be a problem anymore with the program that I come out with. Jessica says, I have lost 2 bids and only one offered debriefing. Didn't go into detail why I lost, but every time I submit or watch videos, I gain a little piece of things to make them better. Jessica, I love it. You know, I know you're gonna have good things coming your way, Jessica, just because with every comment or everything you say, Jessica, it shows where you're coming from in your mind. And not just Jessica, a lot of you in the chat here, you're on the right path. So I love that this is talking about the year past and the year ahead, because I know a lot of you guys, if you stay with this and you don't get eaten by the wolves, like I said, don't go off that path, don't get distracted, stick to the fundamentals. We're going to be celebrating together if you do. And nothing would make me happier than to see you succeed, okay? I'm not doing this coaching thing, this whole YouTube thing, making free courses thing to like, I don't know, like just to make money, right? And I haven't even come out with like a big program yet. Like I haven't made a lot of money at all this year. Like that's not something I talk about, but it's because I'm trying to give so much on the front end so that you guys know that I'm real and genuine. Because when I come up with a bigger program, like it can't be free. It has to be a sustainable business for me, but it also has to offer the value that's actually going to create a transformation for you guys, right? And so that's the exchange with me or with anybody, right? And I always try to give more than I get, and that is my mindset with this. So you guys, I know a lot of you are going to have some really great things. Jessica, I love the mindset. You are spot on. You're absolutely spot on. Yeah, awesome. So guys, I think that's going to be it. I have a business meeting set up at 2, so I'm going to bounce. Thank you for joining. If you like this video and you haven't yet, consider hitting that like button. It will help the video show up in the SEO in the stream so that other people can find out about our community. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. There's very few GovCon communities that are actually making a difference, and I want our community to be #1. And by you subscribing, it basically will, again, allow us to show up higher in the search ranking so we can attract other people and help even more people with their GovCon businesses, whether to start out or to continue to grow them. So wish me luck. I'm about to go back to reality now. I've got my meeting at 2, and then after that, I'm in packing mode. Like I'm not even packing, there's nothing to pack. I'm in moving mode. So wish me luck. I'm leaving tomorrow around 11 a.m. on my way to Alabama from Michigan. That's going to be about a 3-day trip. And hopefully I can see you guys next Friday on a live session in a new house, in a new state, I hope. So cross your fingers for me. And I look forward to seeing you then. So it's been fun, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.